Everybody loves Coach Kenny Atkinson, former Warriors assistant coach, who is now the head coach of the Cavs, the undefeated 10-0 Cleveland Cavaliers, the NBA's last undefeated team, the first team to start a season 10-0 since the Warriors did it in that magical 2015-16 season. The Warriors got off to a 24-0 run. The Cavs just absolutely body the Warriors. 136-117 is your final, and the score was not as close as the score might indicate, which is a weird thing to say about a 19-point loss for the Warriors. Hello there, everybody. Sam Lubman is going to be with you tonight on Warriors Wrap-Up, as usual host Mark Grandy is on assignment. And this was just one of those nights in the NBA where things get off to a bad start early on, and it's just impossible to really kind of get things going again. It's impossible to find that momentum. And next thing you know, you're down. Let me just check my notes here. 20-2 in the first 4 minutes of the game. And yeah, it looked everything like that for the Warriors there to start this game. Again, 136-117 is the final. Warriors falling to 7-2 in Cleveland, and all those good vibes that we had on Wednesday night after the Warriors got probably the best win of any team so far this year when they beat the Boston Celtics on that parquet floor in Boston. A lot of those good feelings are gone, and the Cavs got, they got a win tonight that's probably right up there with what the Warriors did to the Celtics in terms of just major wins. The Warriors went into tonight's game with a chance to put out a statement there. Warriors got a huge win in Boston on Wednesday night that kind of let the NBA know, hey, we're running with the big boys this year. Dub Nation, we're rolling this year. We are a championship tier team here early to start the season. And they rolled into Cleveland with a chance to make another major statement to the rest of the NBA to say that not only are they one of the championship caliber teams, but they had a chance to let the NBA know that they are one of the true big boys to be feared in the NBA this year. Instead, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers at 10-0, letting the NBA know, hey, we're big boys too. And the Cavs, again, when you're 9-0, you have to look the part, and the Cavs absolutely looked the part early on tonight. They were getting big nights from everybody. You got Darius Garland leading the Cavs with 27 points. Evan Mobley chipping in 23. Jarrett Allen with 13 points. Isaac Okoro playing great on both ends of the floor. Finishes 6 from 10 for the field for 16 points. He had a plus-minus of 32 to lead the Cavaliers. And Donovan Mitchell, maybe the superstar of the Cavs. I mean, everyone on the Cavs looked like a superstar tonight, but Donovan Mitchell was the big name in that lineup. Only chipped in 12 points tonight in 26 minutes. Didn't really have to do a whole lot, but he was cooking throughout the night at times, especially in that second quarter. He had Brandon Podziemski really kind of cooked at one point there in that second quarter. But I am kind of curious what Warrior fans think about all this. This was not a pretty game at all. This was a burn the tape game, as they like to say. 888-957-9570. Warrior fans, I want to hear from you guys on this loss. What do you even take away from a loss like this? Do you look for positives? Are you one of those fans that, like, when you see a night like this, what can we do to find a positive? How about this for a positive? Jonathan Kuminga continuing his run of very good basketball coming off the Warriors bench. We all were freaking out. Oh, he was benched. What does that mean? It means he's about to go on a run of very, very solid basketball off the bench. Again, his 21 points were a team high for the Warriors, played 29 minutes. Stephen Curry, kind of a slow night for him. 12 points, 5 of 10 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3. You got Andrew Wiggins dropping 11. Not a whole lot of scoring from the starters tonight. And maybe that's what we'll start our show here on Warriors Wrap Up. We're going to take this, we'll take this into the 8 o'clock hour this time. Definitely want to hear from Warrior fans. That will determine how long into the night that we go. But let's start with this starting lineup as, stop me if you've heard this before, but the Warriors starters are just not setting the tone early on. Far too often, this team is down early on. We saw it on Wednesday night against Boston, but the defense was there, and you had a feeling that they could figure out a way to get back into that game. What we were seeing tonight early on in those first 5 minutes of the game, you lost that feeling pretty quick. When you're getting your doors blown out like the Warriors were to start this game, you're basically looking for a chance. How can we find a play that we can get some momentum going here? What can we do to stop the bleeding and start turning this around? And the Warriors never kind of really found that moment. I believe they were down 20-5, 5 minutes into the game. I was going to say again, 20-5, 5 minutes into the game. They had a moment about 6:45 in. Steph Curry got a steal. Got to Wiggins on the other end. Wiggins, lost the ball there. Wasn't able to get the ball in the hoop. On the next possession, though, Wiggins got the 1 foot layup there with a dish from Draymond to make it 20-7. And I'll be honest, this is going to sound really silly to say this in hindsight, but in that moment, I was thinking, you know what? If you're going to find a way to turn this around, if you're going to find a way to get some momentum here and stop the bleeding and start to close this gap and finish the first quarter with a respectable deficit, hey, they could have gotten that deficit to, 6-7 to end the quarter at that point. They were only down 13. They go a little bit of a spurt there and keep the Cavs within spitting distance at the end of that first quarter. And instead, the Cavs just started laying it hard. Karis LeVert, he's dropping a three. Isaac Okoro gets a bucket. Next thing you know, a few minutes later, it's 33-14 after Donovan Mitchell stinks a couple free throws. Just over 2 minutes left in that first quarter. And no matter what the Warriors tried to do, they really just they couldn't get a foothold in this game. They were down 20-2 to start the game, and they finished the first quarter. After that, after being down 20-2, they won the rest of that first quarter 20-19. And they're down 39-22 at the end of that first quarter. So they started answering kind of what the Cavs were doing about halfway through that first quarter. Not even halfway, about 5 minutes into the game. They're at their, not even the lowest point. They were down by 40 at one point in this game. But early on that first quarter, they kind of I'm not going to say they were answering. They didn't get momentum, but they kind of were halting the onslaught, so to speak, during that 20-19 spurt for the last 7 minutes of that first quarter. And you're down 17 at the end of that first, but you're thinking, get off to a hot start here in the second quarter. Let's use that depth. These bench guys, they've been stepping up when they need to. And maybe, just maybe, you can make this a respectable game at halftime and set yourself up for a big third quarter. That is not quite what really happened there. And the Cavs blitzed the Warriors 18-8 in the first 5 minutes of that second quarter. That made it 57-30, down 27. And yeah, it was pretty ugly. Well, all right. Down 27. Can the Warriors maybe at that point start to turn things around? No, not at all. Because over the next 3 minutes, if you thought that first 18-8 run was a lot of fun, I didn't think it was. Maybe there's someone out there who did. For the next 3 minutes, the Cavs gave another 18-8 run. Just, for good measure, but they did a little bit quicker this time. And at that point, it's just, you're playing for pride at that point. What can you do to salvage something positive coming away from this game so you don't go off into the night completely down in the dumps? Cavs finished that first half, the final 3 minutes, with an 8-5 spurt. And you go into the half down really big, 83-42. That's a 41-point deficit there, if my math is correct. Is my math correct, Cam? Thumbs up, thumbs down, math correct? Yeah, the thumbs are up because my math is correct. I can do basic math. That's actually big if you can do that in the radio industry. So definitely want to hear from Warrior fans on this one tonight because this is just an ugly one. But sometimes you need these in the league just to, give you that little bit of a wake-up call, that little bit of a reminder that, hey, these guys on other teams, they are paid as well. And credit the Cleveland Cavaliers. In a night where the Warriors were looking to make a statement that they are the big boys, the Cleveland Cavaliers announcing to the NBA world, we are a team that you need to seriously fear. I mean, you look at this team all up and down this roster. You got so many incredible players. Their starting lineup tonight. First off, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Those twin towers there, they're able to just park under the hoop. Like, that's just unfair. Having two guys who are basically 7 feet. I mean, Jarrett Allen's listed at 6'11", but you throw that hair in, which, my God, I love that hair on Jarrett Allen. There's just something retro about that afro that Jarrett Allen's working there that adds another 3-4 inches. I'm curious, when we're measuring NBA players, do we measure the hair too? If someone knows that, please let me know. I'd be kind of curious because Jarrett Allen measuring at 6'11", he stands next to Evan Mobley, and he's looking taller than Evan Mobley. But again, that's where the hair comes in. I like Jarrett Allen a lot. The dude just looks like a legitimate NBA player. So you got those two. Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro, Donovan Mitchell also in that lineup. And that is one of the top starting fives you're going to find throughout the league. The Cavs, they have been kind of on the rise these last few years. They've been slowly setting themselves up ever since the second LeBron James era ended. And they have done an incredible job putting their organization back together after LeBron left them in shambles again after that 17-18 season. So credit to them. The Cavs, they got something special building. They look like one of the true elite teams in the East. As for the Warriors, this was their 5th road loss dating back to last February. 22-5 in their last 27 road games. So don't freak too much out. Oh, no, the Warriors go on the road. What are they doing? No, this is their first road loss, their 5th road loss in the last, it's November now, so the last 9 months. So this was a bit of a setback. Now, what does this say about the Warriors' start to the season or what the Warriors might look like going forward? I don't know. I'm not going to overreact and take too much away from this game in terms of the overall big picture. I kind of told myself I'm going to wait 20 games into the season before I start making grand proclamations for what this team is capable of. But let's also not forget, this is game 4 of a 5-game road trip. This is a road trip that early on in the season looked like it was going to be a doozy. They got off to a good, start. They held on against Houston, took care of business against Washington, put the world on notice against Boston. You're getting greedy at this point. If I told you that going into this OKC game on Sunday, the Warriors be 4-1 on this road trip, I don't think you would really care where that one loss came from. Maybe you would hope it wasn't against the Wizards or something like that. But you'd be taking that, especially if I told you one of those wins are against Boston. So let's not panic too much. Let's not freak out too much. Let's not let what happened tonight on the court in Cleveland take away from what's been still a great start for this Warriors season. And in a night like tonight, where the Warriors getting absolutely blitzed, you learn a little bit something about this team. You know what I learned? I learned that this team, with its depth, they are able to wear teams down, and they got a lot of fight. They play with a lot of pride. They could have easily just packed it away in that second half, let Cleveland just have their way with them, and they fought back. And it's not like Cleveland was pulling their starters. The Warriors bench was stepping up late against the Cleveland starters. So it's not like they were just, getting fun points in garbage time. Those were big boy points that they were getting as they were closing the gap there in the second half there. Warriors, they won that second half, whatever that means. Winning the second half when you lose by 19 only matters so much. But they won the second half 75-53. And neither team really pulled out their big guns until midway through the fourth. You saw Lindy Waters and Guy Santos check in with about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's like, all right, now we're packing things in, which, by the way, Lindy Waters, he's the hero a week ago. Now he's back to 13th, 14th guy on the bench, coming in only in garbage time. But again, there's positives to be found there. And I want to hear what those positives are. We had some people on the line, and they dropped off. I guess that's on me for not getting to them as quickly. Call back, Big Smooth. I saw you were one of the guys on there. Call back in. I want to hear from you because I know you always got good stuff to say about the Warriors. 888-957-9570 is the number to call. I want to hear from Warrior fans how they're feeling about this loss, or more importantly, hey, I know what's on your mind right now. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, Sam, what the heck is that on your head right now? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, YouTube person who is, I'm imagining right now. What you see on my head right now is one of these Captain Clay hats that the Warriors are going to be giving out on Tuesday night when the Warriors host the Mavericks in the opening game of the Emirates NBA Cup. But the real story will be the return of Klay Thompson, his first game at Chase Center since he went to sign with the Mavericks over the offseason. It'll be a fun night. It'll be an emotional night. Warrior fans love Klay. He is an all-time Warrior, one of the all-time athletes in Bay Area history. And, of course, we all know he's one of our favorite boat captains, which is why we are wearing the Captain Klay hat. So it's a pretty cool hat. I'm wearing it right now. It's pretty snug. So definitely you want to get there early on Tuesday night to get this hat. I'm showing off for you right now because I want to get you excited for it. I want you to see this hat and think, oh, man, I got to get me one of those too. I mean, if Sam's looking that good in that hat, think how good I'll look in that hat. Because if I make it look good, you, the listener, will definitely be making it look good. So that's what's going on there with the hat here as we react to the Warriors' 136-117 loss. There's really not a whole lot to unpack from that first half. We're definitely going to try, though. But first things first, I want to go to the phones here. We got Mark on 680. He's got some thoughts on this Warriors loss. Mark, I hope you're driving with a hands-free device there on 680. How you doing today, Mark? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I am. That's true. Always be safe.
Safety first.
Well, my thoughts are basically that the Warriors got to find a better starting lineup. They've had a lot of trouble this year starting games, and I don't know exactly what it is. But like you said, down 20-2 to start the game. I mean, against Boston, they started poorly. There's quite a few games this year where they've started very poorly, and sometimes the second unit has come in and sort of saved them in the first quarter. They come in and they're hot, and they get the lead back, but you know, they're struggling with the starting lineup to start the game, and I wonder if Kerr needs to just shake it up.
Yeah, it just shaking it up though isn't really the problem there, Mark. I mean, the Warriors in the last 6 games have used 6 different starting lineups. I mean, Steve is shaking things up right now, and you look at the starting lineup. I mean, obviously there's guys who you know are going to be in that lineup. Steph's going to be in that lineup. Draymond's going to be in that starting lineup. Andrew Wiggins going to be in that starting lineup. The question is kind of what you really do from there. TJD has had moments this year. I think he's looked a lot better here in this second year. I think he's got great chemistry with Steph early on. But in these last 2 games, especially tonight, going again when he's basically having a battle with the Twin Towers down low of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, TJD really struggled tonight. Down there underneath the post there, underneath the hoop there. 16 minutes of action, scoring only 3 points, -5. Just absolutely battered on the boards there. 5 total rebounds. You got to get more from your center in that situation. But again, it's his second year in the league. He was drafted late in the second round. You're only going to be able to get so much from a guy like that. You need to have some size in this line. I mean, what do you take TJD out? Maybe you move Draymond to the 5, start really small. But there's a lot of teams that are big in the NBA that'll just chew you up. Steve Kerr tried to go small to end the first half of this game tonight. It did not work out very well. The Cavs continued to just feast on them and got whatever they want. So we are going to keep talking about this game. We're going to keep hearing from you guys. We're also going to hear from the head coach, Steve Kerr. He had some interesting things to say, and what was a pretty brief post-game presser after this one. I mean, there's only so much you can say after a loss like that. I think the big takeaway, though, is there were some positives. We're going to get into some of those positives on the other side. But at the end of the day, let's just flush this one down the toilet. You know, shout out Flushing by Flowing Water Plumbing and Drain. For all your for all your plumbing needs, go to flowingwater.net. So we're going to flush this one. And then maybe we'll start looking ahead to this OKC game coming up on Sunday. And we're going to take a look around the league, too, because I know we're all curious as to what the rest of the association is doing tonight. It is Sam Lubman with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. We're going to be here for probably another 30 minutes or so on the other side of this break, depending on how things go with the calls. Warriors fall to the Cavs, 136-117. Warriors are 7-2 on this young season. Still a very good record. They're still in very good shape overall here to start this season. Because at the end of the day, as ugly as this loss was, it counts for one loss. You know, bad losses don't count for two losses because, oh man, could you imagine? So just one loss, they could shake it off. It's going to be tough to shake it off with OKC coming up, though, but still some things, positives to unpack. We'll unpack those on their side. We'll hear from Steve Kerr. We'll hear from the listeners. 888-957-9570 is the number. We'll be back with you on the other side. Oh, yeah. The route was most certainly on at that point there in the second quarter. Welcome back to Warriors Wrap-Up. Sam Blubman is here with you we'll go another 30-ish so minutes unless we get a flood of calls of people who are angry about how this game went tonight. Warriors fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland. 136-117 is your final. Jonathan Kuminga leading the Warriors tonight with 21 points. Steph Curry adding 12 points. Andrew Wiggins, 11. Kevon Looney with 7 rebounds. Also with 7 rebounds was Brandon Pajemski, but Warriors just could not contain the Cavs' onslaught. The Cavs are a young team. They are a fast team. They are a big team. They are a long team. And they absolutely blitzed the Warriors early on, and they blitzed them again for good measure in the second quarter. Take a look at just how this second quarter went. The Warriors were outscored 44-20 in the frame. Steph only got 5 points. Andrew Wiggins only had 2 points. By the way, you want to talk about how rough that first half was. By the end of the first half, the Warriors were down by 41. Only 2 of your 5 starters had tallied points. By the end of the first half, Andrew Wiggins had 9 points. Stephen Curry had 7. Draymond Green, Trace Jackson Davis, and Gary Payton II had as many points in the first half as you and me did. Steph was a minus 29 that first half. That's just how ugly it was. But I don't think anything made it as more uglier than when, I mean, you hate revenge games when they're happening to you. You love it when you see one of your guys having a revenge game, but when a revenge game is done to you, it's never fun. And in the second quarter, Warriors started getting lit up by a guy who this should just really irritate you if you're a Warrior fan.
Bounce pass to Allen. Allen over on the right side of Coro. Well, Coro steps in, guarded by Pajemski. Finds Jerome, left corner 3. Swish! The Warriors have been hurt by baseline penetration of all things. 60-30 to score. The Warriors are down 30 on the road.
Ty freaking Jerome. The Ty Jerome game. No one even, what's your memory of Ty Jerome? You don't have one. There are no good memories of Ty Jerome as a Warrior. And here he was dropping 13 of his 15 points during the 10 minutes he spent on the court. In the second quarter, he was 5 of 5 in the quarter, 3 of 3 from 3. And he was a big reason why the Cavs just absolutely left the Warriors in the dust there in that second quarter. And it was just a complete and utter just failure in all systems. A complete and utter failure of all systems in that first half. There really was no defensive intensity from the Warriors. The amount of times that either Ty Jerome, Isaac Okoro, or Darius Garland were just floating around with all sorts of real estate around them on that three-point line in the first half. It's just utterly ridiculous. The Cavs came into tonight as a 42% shooter from 3 as a team, which is pretty good. That I'm not shaking a stick at that. That's a good number. In that first half tonight, they were 14-22 from deep. 63% from the field, 64% if you want to round up. The Cavs were getting whatever they wanted from deep in this game tonight. I mean, in the first quarter, they got basically whatever they wanted from the three-point line. That first quarter from 3, 7 of 10 from the three-point line. It started cooling down a little bit when only 7 of 12 from 3 in the second quarter. But that's when you really started to see the Cavs banging around down low, getting whatever they wanted in the paint. And the Warriors had no answers for anything. They could not get any sort of offensive rhythm going. Steph could never get into rhythm. You had Brandon Pajemski playing a lot of minutes in that second quarter and taking shots that just had you saying, why are you taking that shot? I'm not even going to say something funny there because it's just, I can't think of a funny thing to say there. It was, you just taking bad shots. He was getting cooked on defense. It was a rough night for Pods. Not going to crush him too hard because, again, it's just one game. But this was not a game. This was not a game you're going to put on the refrigerator for Brandon Pajemski. I believe I said that about a lot of guys on Monday night. But, hey, it happens. Not a great night there. Not a great night for the Warriors defense. Not a great night for the Warriors offense. One thing it was a good night for, one person it was a good night for, though, was Jonathan Kuminga. Playing, again, some great basketball, having some of the best games of his young career so far this season. Again, he finished with 21 points off the bench to lead the Warriors. Got 14 of those points in the first half. He was kind of basically doing what he could to, I don't want to say keep the Warriors in it, because if you score 14 and your team's down 41, you're not really in it. But he was putting in that effort, and when games start to get ugly like this, when games start to fall out of reach, when you're down, again, 41 points at the end of the first half, it can be so easy to just be like, you know what? We're going to punt on this one. That's what the Warriors did last year in Boston. The game got ugly early, and Steve Kerr's like, you know what? We're going to punt on this one. It's just one game. Because, again, all these losses only count for one loss. You don't get extra losses for, the game being ugly. But credit to guys like Jonathan Kuminga for putting their head down and just doing whatever they could do to keep the Warriors in this one. Well, I don't want to say keep the Warriors in this one, but I guess you're playing for pride at that point, and that's what Jonathan Kuminga was doing. And he was, again, a continued bright spot. He continues to reward Steve Kerr for his faith in keeping him as a solid figure in the rotation. The bench role is clearly suiting him. And yeah, that's probably your positive of the night. I guess the other positive again is you want to look into the second half, which again the Warriors did win the overall score of the second half, 75-53 in the second half. So the Warriors did not quit, and most of that was done against the Cavs starters. The Cavs big guys, they still played a lot of minutes. Darius Garland played 30 minutes. You got another 30 from Jared Allen, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley, and Donovan Mitchell. They were all on the court for 26 minutes. So the starters were playing solid amount of minutes. Steph Curry played 23 minutes, Andrew Wiggins 20, Draymond 20. They were pulled early in the fourth quarter there, which, you kind of had to figure that was going to happen at some point. But even then, the Warriors bench still kept pushing the Cavs in that fourth quarter. The Warriors won the fourth quarter 34-24. Those last 4 minutes, though, we could probably cross those off because that's when everyone started to empty the bench, and that was kind of it officially for the night. But the fact that you're seeing this team battle like they did, not giving up, not letting this game just absolutely turn into an absolute poo show, yeah, I'll take that as something to be happy about. And that's probably where the happiness kind of comes to an end. There's that you're really kind of fishing hard for positives after that. So, hey, how about this? Let's hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr in his post-game presser. And Cam, I'll play it here on my board. It's all good. And yeah, so we're going to hear from Coach, hear what he had to say about it. We'll try and take some more of your phone calls if you're interested in calling in. We'd definitely love to hear from you. Again, 888-957-9570 is the number. We'll be here for about another 15, 20 minutes before we call it a night and move on to OKC. So really quick, here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr after the Warriors got absolutely mollywopped 136-117.
They were ready. They were ready to play, obviously, and took it to us. I think it was 20-2 right out of the gate. So give them credit; they were fantastic. I didn't feel like I did a great job the last 2 days of getting the guys ready to play, but this was all about Cleveland and their performance. They were phenomenal.
What do you take away from the effort and energy in the second half?
That was important. There's going to be games in the 82 where things don't go your way, and you have to show who you are. And I was impressed with the guys' energy and the way they kept playing, and that's important to establish that.
You mentioned your first answer. You feel like you could do a better job getting the guys ready. What do you feel like you could do better that you didn't do?
I'm not telling. I know what I could have done better, but I'm not telling you.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the keys to executing against that kind of front line and size that they have defensively?
We got to put the work in.
And then just JK, the force he's played with him in the first half, what can his force add to matchups like this where you face him?
Yeah, I mean, that's what JK can do when we're struggling to get offensive rhythm. He can break down a play and get to the rim and, get fouled, and that's an important quality for us.
What'd you think about D'Anthony, how he looked?
D'Anthony looked really good. It's great to get him back out there. He's a hell of a two-way player and does a lot of good things for us. So I'm excited to get him back.
And then what are you looking for Sunday in the response?
Well, we got to respond. We got to, we need to practice tomorrow. We got to execute better. We had 13 turnovers in the first half. We were completely disorganized, and that's where I feel like we need the most work. We've got to continue to work on our organization and just getting settled so that we can execute and understand how to execute against a team that's playing, at that level defensively.
Is that just time and reps and practice?
Yeah, let's practice tomorrow and get ready to go on Sunday.
3-10-0. I think it's the longest streak since you guys went, obviously, 24-0. At what point is a team not just hot? Like, this is who they are?
At what point?
Does a team they're just not hot, like this is actually who they are?
Yeah.
You make that declaration.
Well, they've been building to this for several years. I mean, this is not just like all of a sudden the Cavs are good. They've been good. So the continuity matters, and they've obviously off to a great start. Clearly one of the best teams in the league.
Steve, what differences have you seen in this year's Cavs compared to others?
I don't know. I don't know them that well. I mean, we saw them the last couple of years, and it's it's the same group, right? So they're playing at a high level right now, and they're young and they're on the rise, and so they should be getting better, right? I mean, this is whatever it is for the starting group, and Kenny's doing a great job with them, and they're playing at a high level. So I don't know. I leave that answer up to the analysts. I just know they kicked our ass tonight. Thank you.
Like the walk-off. Okay, Mr. Analyst. Kerr.
Oh, hey, a little cameo from Bonte Hill there at the end of that one. That was Warriors head coach Steve Kerr there addressing the media postgame after the Warriors got absolutely obliterated by the Cavs. Again, there's only so much you can really take away there. Steve Kerr, interesting again, saying he didn't have the guys ready for this one, taking the accountability there. Yeah, that's just not something you want to hear from your head coach. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Steve Kerr took a lot of flack last year from Warrior fans. There were a lot of frustrations with some of the methods Kerr was using, some of the rotations that he had. There was a lot of nights that kind of looked like this sometimes, where the team just did not look ready. And yeah, to be honest, Steve Kerr, he's got a bit of a starting lineup issue right now, which is kind of a weird thing to say because on paper it's not a bad starting lineup. Steph, Dre, Wiggs. You could do a lot worse than those three. TJD down low in the middle. Again, he's probably their best option they have there, unless they want to go slow, and unless they want to go small, and put Draymond at the 5. But yeah, I don't know what changes you make there. Gary Payton II, he was put in the starting lineup tonight. I don't know how that holds. If you make a change to the starting lineup, I'm kind of curious. 888-957-9570. What kind of change would you like to see? Another thing I thought Kerr said was interesting was about getting more organized. We'll replay that right now. Here's what Kerr said about this team getting more organized.
Well, we got to respond. We got to, we need to practice tomorrow. We got to execute better. We had 13 turnovers in the first half. We were completely disorganized, and that's where I feel like we need the most work. We've got to continue to work on our organization and just getting settled so that we can execute and understand how to execute against a team that's playing, at that level defensively.
The Warriors, they still got a little bit of youth on this team, so there's going to be times where, those nights are going to happen. But, I would like to see the Warriors just, against one of these premier opponents, figure out a way to just get off to a good start. Because when you're starting in a massive deficits like this all the time, you can't just expect the bench depth to carry you back into these games. Now, most nights you could do that. I mean, you look at the Warriors, they played... See how we got here, 10. They played 14 guys tonight, and 12 of those guys played double digits. So the depth is there, and they're able to wear teams down through this, throughout the night. and that kind of enables them to get back into these games, but you can't just always bank on that. You got to just put teams away right off the bat early on, and the starters keep getting into these deficits here, and eventually it's going to come back to haunt the Warriors. It's going to haunt the Warriors a lot. So I want to go to the lines here because we got a bit of a special guest here. And I just got reminded to do the legal. So what better time to do the legal than right before the special guest? You are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ and Odyssey Station here in San Francisco. It's probably one of the worst legals ever. But hey, you know what? I got it in on time. And I'm going to go to the line now, the River Islands guest line here. We're going to talk to Bonte Hill. Bonte, my guy, how are you doing? All guests join us on the River Islands guest line. Time to discover the islands, River Islands, and Lathrop. Bonte, that might have been the worst River Islands read I think I've ever done.
Hey, man, it was probably the worst game we ever watched tonight in Cleveland, so it kind of goes, it's par for the course, right? I mean, the first quarter was ugly. The first half was ugly. Our reads are ugly. Hey, it is what it is.
We'll just get them all out of the way at once, you know?
Burn the tape, Lubman. Burn the tape. Nobody knows anything, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good tonight, Bonte. As good as you can be. I mean, listen, they lost by 19, so that's a very positive way of putting it, but it was probably the biggest 19-point loss we've seen in quite a while. But once again, this seems to be the continuing theme with the Warriors here to start the season. Everyone always makes a big deal about who the starting lineup is going to be. Right now, though, it doesn't really matter what starting lineup the Warriors are using. They keep coming out flat. They keep coming out in these deficits. When you're watching these games, what's going on with this starting lineup? What kind of similarities are you seeing night to night that might add some sort of just clue as to why the Warriors keep stumbling out of the gate like this?
Well, it's a good point. Wednesday night against Boston, they fall behind 14-3. They insert GP2, Gary Payton II, and Buddy Hield. And away they go. They go on a run to take control of the game, and they will go on to win that basketball game, obviously. You know, tonight's slow start, what was it, 20-2 in the first 4 minutes and 27 seconds. They were just never in this basketball game. And I understand tonight's starting lineup. You know, you want to set a defensive tone, especially with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt. So I understood why Gary Payton II started. You want to match your guard, who's a pest, who can annoy all the guards in this league, and pick up 94 feet. Well, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are just playing another level right now. So all that game plan about having defense first out there, it just backfired on Steve Kerr and company. I mean, Darius Garland entered his game shooting 47% from three-point line, 47% from three. Donovan Mitchell was shooting 40% from three entering this game. Overall, the Cavaliers were shooting 42% from the three-point line, and it was a contrast to styles. Boston's a 5-out team that's going to bomb a lot of threes. Cleveland, there's a lot more balance to their game. It could go inside. It could go outside. They only attempt 36 threes a game. And right away in the first half, you see that they're a very efficient three-point shooting team because they're able to drive and kick and break down a defense. So the Warriors just looked a step slow tonight. Yeah, slow start contributed. They never had a lead. And maybe Steve Kerr will have to find some balance with that starting unit to get up to a great start because one thing is certain is that the bench will come in and produce. And they produced 77 points tonight. So the slow starts is a thing. Let's see what happens Sunday in OKC before we make a big deal of it, however.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of the big takeaways I'm trying to hold on to right now. Is again, they're 9 games into the season. You're going to have nights like this throughout the year. Sometimes you just have duds. So definitely don't want to overreact too much. But again, we're looking at this starting lineup. If something changes, again, Bonte, they've done 6 different starting lineups in their last 6 games coming into tonight. They're having trouble finding out what the consistency is there. Now, I do like Steph, Draymond, and Wiggins in that starting lineup. TJD has been working, but if you are to make a switch up, I don't know who you put in there at this point to where you're going to be able to get consistent production to start the game.
Well, Steve Kerr's he's just I wouldn't even focus too much on the starters because Steve Kerr's focusing on matchups. How do I best match up with a starting 5? Well, the other night in Boston, you could get away from Moses Moody against Boston, right? Moses Moody's not going to start every night. But Monday night, it made sense, right, to insert GP2 in the starting lineup to slow down Jordan Poole and press Jordan Poole. And what happened with Jordan Poole? He entered that game shooting 51% from three. He was 2-9 against the Warriors. So what Steve Kerr's doing with his starting 5, one, he's trying to set a defensive tone that permeates throughout the roster and sets the tone throughout the game. And 2, he's going to do it based on matchups. You know, I thought it was smart to start GP2 tonight and have them match up with Garland and Mitchell, two quick guards who are 6'3" and under, and maybe GP2 could disrupt them. Well, he had no impact early on. Steve Kerr, right away, 3 minutes into the game, Buddy Hield was in there. GP2 was on the bench. So I wouldn't focus too much on the starting unit, but more so just on the slow starts, because we're going to see a slew of starting lineups this season. Last year, we see about 28 to 29. This year is going to be around that number when you have a roster like this and you have the type of versatility and depth. You're going to see a starting 5 probably most nights. However, it's just about getting off the better starts. And that's what Steve Kerr has to figure out here. What unit can give me a better start to start a game so we don't fall behind the 8 ball here, dropping behind 14-3 to Boston or 20-2 to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, and I guess one of that's where the benefits of the depth comes in, because even they have been able to erase some of these deficits early on and kind of give the Warriors a little bit more breathing room in terms of having time to figure out what that ideal starting 5 is. Though, I want to look at some positives. I know there were a few tonight. Right off the bat, though, DeAnthony Melton, he made his return after missing the last few games, played 17 minutes, 4 of 11 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, 10 points overall. Just what were your thoughts on kind of what you saw from Melton tonight?
He moved well, right? Last year, he missed 44 regular season games, and he missed all one of the playoff games from the Philadelphia 76ers a season ago. So the pick is a concern for him moving forward here. I think that's why the Warriors were cautious with him, and he missed 5 straight games. But I thought he moved around well. Look, he's a lifetime hitter, so he is capable of hitting that shot. And defensively, more times than not, he's going to be able to stay in front of guys at the point of attack defensively. So I thought Melton moved well. There were no setbacks, and I think that's a positive here moving forward, because you want to get him back integrated into this rotation. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, you want Melton to be a key piece here, because I think he can defend other guards at the point of attack defensively. But the more important part, love it. No setbacks with his back injury. He moved around just fine. The shot's starting to fall for him. It was just good to see him back on the floor.
Jonathan Kuminga is night in, night out, Ben. Probably the biggest positive for the Warriors on a consistently night in, night out. Ben, the biggest positive here. It seems like ever since he's gone to the bench, it's just every game is just really good from him. The vision is there on the court. I feel like he's so much more confident taking some of these threes that he's been taking in these games here. It's just what more can we really say about what we're getting from Jonathan Kuminga over this 2-week stretch here? And do you think it's possible that Kerr could be tempted to try and reinsert Kuminga into the starting lineup just to try and maybe get off to a better start here in some of these games?
Well, it depends on the combinations, right? But it could be an option for Steve Kerr, because he's the one guy on this roster that can get to the rack and finish at the rim consistently. And he's trying to fine-tune his game to that point. And tonight I thought J.K., for the Golden State Warriors, looked like the only player who belonged against the Cavaliers athletically, physically, speed-wise when it came to quickness. J.K. looked like the only guy who was able to hold his own on the floor tonight. So, yes, once he gets shifted to the bench, he has put together some good games, solid individual defense. Wasn't enough tonight, but that's one thing that you can show him to film tonight. Hey, here's some of the bad things that you did. Here's some of the great things that you did. And continue to build his confidence as he continues to get reps. So whether or not he starts it out again, well, I think we're focused on the wrong thing here when it comes to the starting lineup. It's listed minutes to be an impact player on this basketball team. I think for the most part today, he proved that, hey, I could play against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I could hold my own, but it just wasn't enough. So it's tough to take a positive when you're down 41 at the half. But look, overall, his stat line is going to look nice. But to your point, Love, and he has played a lot better since shifting to the bench. I mean, playing the Pelicans, playing the Rockets and having the 6 of the 8 points in overtime. I thought he did very well on Tatum the other night and showed his physicality when it came to individual defense. So AK is trending up. He's playing some good basketball. Whether or not he starts, we'll see about that, because it may not just work with the combinations, but I definitely think he's earned some more playing time, Jonathan Kuminga.
Oh, absolutely. And again, he keeps rewarding Steve Kerr for this playing time. And again, there's only so many positives you can take from a game like this. I like to look. I've been pointing out that the Warriors did, win the second half, quote unquote. They outscored the Cavs 75-53 in that second half. And the Cavs, they kept their big guys in for much of that second half there. And it was a lot of the bench guys who were doing a lot of the heavy lifting there in that second half. When you see these guys battling against a really good Cavs team like that when they're down this big in a game like that. What does that kind of tell you about just the overall character of, not the big guys on this Warrior team, the Stephs, the Dre's, and the Wigginses, but all these guys on the bench, all these young guys on the bench? When you see them battling against a really, really good Cavs team like that, what does that kind of tell you about the character and the mental makeup of this Warriors team?
Well, it tells me that they take their craft seriously, right? And they're the ultimate professionals. What you want to do is when you get embarrassed like that in the first half, it's probably going to be tough to get back into it and win a basketball game. So the conclusion of the game, the finality of it was done, right? You already knew the result at halftime. However, will you play with personal pride? Will you play with professionalism? Who's going to play hard to try to just build good habits going into the next game? And I think that's what you could take away from that. And that's a good thing here that Steve Kerr has, that these players will play hard no matter what the score is. And I even thought when Steph and Draymond and Wiggins started the third quarter, I thought they played hard. Now, it wasn't their night. The Cavaliers had every answer. They didn't let them breathe offensively. I thought they were defensively, I thought they were the physical team, and their size really bothered the Warriors. There is a professionalism that you have to abide by. When you're getting blown out like that, nobody wants to get on a team bus and the airplane saying, man, we just got beat by 60 or 70. Nobody wants their names in a record book. So I thought the professionalism displayed by the bench and seeing guys like Moses Moody play hard, seeing guys like Lindy Waters III try to make an impact even though the score was lopsided, that is encouraging that guys kept playing. They just kept playing and try to shed off the rust of guys trying to get back, guys trying to get back into the lineup like Brandon Podziemski. There's a professionalism to going out there and competing at a high level, and I thought they did that in the second half, no matter what the score was. It was encouraging to see them just continue to play hard and try to build healthy habits.
Absolutely. A couple more here before we get you out of here, though. Take a look. We got, let's really quick. So Steve Kerr kind of started off his presser by saying that he didn't really do a good job over the last couple days getting guys ready for this game. Kerr took a lot of flack last year for a lot of decisions, a lot of rotation decisions, a lot of preparation issues. When you hear him say that to start off, the presser after a loss like that, what goes through your mind there when you hear him say that?
Well, to me, I felt like Steve Kerr tonight, and this is what the great coaches do. This is what very solid coaches do. They take the heat off of their players, and they take accountability. Mm-hmm. Look, I didn't have them ready to go. I didn't prepare them. I'm aware of this one. But he knows deep down inside, when they hit the film room tomorrow and they get on the practice floor, he knows there's things they need to work on. And only Steve Kerr knows that. He's going to look at some of the things like the blow-bys that reared its ugly head tonight. Last year, that's all we talked about. Man, they can't stay in front of anybody defensively. Well, through the first, 8 games of the season, they've been able to stay in front of teams. They've been able to play defense and stay in front of guys and trap and double and not get blown by. Well, tonight they got blew by all night long. Garland and Mitchell were just too quick for them. Ty Jerome, LeVert, they just had their way getting wherever they wanted on the floor. So Steve Kerr's probably going to work on that point of attack defense. And then he's going to reemphasize the turnovers. We right after the Boston game, they don't have the same margin for error that they had when they had Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, who I could just piss away 6 possessions and think it's all good. And it was all good because they had so much firepower. But they can't do that with this roster. They can't do this with Steph Curry at 36 years old and Draymond at 34. So the turnovers, 13 in the first half, really just got the Warriors on it. So he's going to focus, Steve Kerr, he's going to focus on that. So he's going to say, hey, I'm aware I didn't have these guys prepared, but he's also going to light the team up in their practice session, their film session, and they're going to correct things here. So, but that's what a veteran coach does, Lubman. He's going to take the heat and take accountability, saying, hey, I didn't have them ready. They were ready, just Cleveland was more ready. And Cleveland wanted to make a statement as they improved to 10-0.
Yeah, and that just looks like a really, really, really good basketball team. They will probably be right up there with the Celtics among the East elite this year. Bonte, they play the OKC Thunder on Sunday. Just some quick thoughts on kind of what that game might look like.
Yeah, listen, the road trip has been a success. They're 3-1 on this 5-game road trip. You would love them. You would love to see them get greedy Sunday in Oklahoma City. You're playing one of the top teams, if not the top team in the Western Conference, a team that won 57 games a season ago and was in the second round of the playoffs, giving the Dallas Mavericks all they can handle. Look, this is a very good basketball team. Young, dynamic. We know about Chet Holmgren. We know about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Lou Dort, the Dortcher Chamber is going to be all over Stephen Curry. Then they bring in Alex Caruso off the bench. Isaiah Joe's a quick and good player. Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara is a problem. So you get my point. They're a deep and loaded roster. And they don't even have Hartenstein yet, who's coming over from the New York Knicks to sign the big money deal with Oklahoma City. But I revisit last season, and the Warriors in 3 to 4 games really went toe-to-toe with this team. Remember, Chet Holmgren got fouled after one of the games in the regulation, had to hit 3 free throws. He hit them. OKC wins in overtime. Remember, Chet had the buzzer beater at the end of regulation at Chase Center when Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul blew a switch, and Chet Holmgren hit a 3 to send the game to overtime, and they ended up winning that game. And, of course, the first game in Oklahoma City, the Emirates NBA Cup, the first game of that cup, Steph Curry had a tip in. It was like 141 and 139. So they battled OKC. They went toe-to-toe. But one thing we want to see the Warriors is improving on beating the good teams, right? Last year, against the top 8, 9 teams in the Western Conference, they were combined 10 and 34. They're going to need to flip that if they do want to get into the top 6 of the Western Conference. So another measuring stick game for the Golden State Warriors. I expect them to really wash the stain out of this embarrassment tonight and really play hard against OKC on Sunday. It will just be a phenomenal basketball game.
We'll all be looking forward to it. Hopefully be coming after a Niner win, too, so we can get a double win on Sunday. That game will be at 4 o'clock. You can listen to it right here on 95.7 The Game. Coverage will start at 3 o'clock. You could watch it on NBC Sports Bay Area. Bonte Hill, the host of Warriors pre- and post-game on NBC Sports, he will be there for that as well. Bonte, thank you so much for jumping on here on the River Islands guest line. Really appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Hey, you know what? Don't be late for the breaks, man. Make sure you get that legal in on time.
Oh, we will, man. I learned from the best.
Love it. Have a good night, brother.
All right, you too, man. Drive home safe. And that is Bonte Hill there on the River Islands guest line. All guests on 95.7 The Game appear on the River Islands guest line. Is it a time for you to discover the islands, River Islands in Lathrop? That is how I should have done the read to lead things off, but that's what happens when you try to do a read from memory instead of having the piece of paper in front of you for it. So we're going to get out of here in just a few minutes here. But first things first, we got to get to crashing the boards here. Crashing the Boards is brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. Our Crashing the Boards guy tonight, we call him Windex because he's always cleaning those boards. Shout out Schleprock. It's Kevon Looney.
Shot clock at 7. Cash playing good defense. Melton, great bounce pass to Looney after being double-teamed as Looney flashed to the rim and slammed it down.
It's a different kind of cleaning the boards there with the dunk there from Kevon Looney, but he is our Crashing the Boards performer tonight. Again, that is Crashing the Boards. It is brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. Speaking of Kevon Looney, Loon Dog, what can you take away from that second half tonight?
We just got back to our identity. We know if we play our style of basketball, we play to our standards and hold up our principles, that we're going to be tough to beat and we can play with anybody. But also, if we don't play with that edge, we can be beat pretty easily. So just knowing that we got to go out there and play with that aggressiveness, that physicality every night, it's just a learning.
Keep that aggressiveness, keep that physicality. Remember who you are. Who you are as Golden State Warriors. This is still a good basketball team. I truly believe that. Like, I've heard 50 wins being thrown around. Maybe I'm starting to buy into that. But I do believe that the rest of the league is looking at what we're seeing from this Warriors team, and they're thinking, I thought these guys were done. I thought we were done having to think about Steph Kerr. I thought we were done with Draymond Green being on one of the better teams in the NBA. I thought the Warriors were yesterday's dynasty. The Warriors are showing early on this year that they're not going to go away into that long night all that quietly. I saw them, I was reading in The Athletic earlier today that they were compared to those late year Patriots teams where, as long as they had Brady and Belichick, didn't really matter who else was on that team. They will figure out a way. We got Steve Kerr, one of the top 15 best coaches in NBA history, and a resume that is impossible to disprove that. You got Steph Curry, who is the GOAT. You got Draymond Green, still one of the premier defenders in the NBA, and he's adding a little bit of offense to his game. The Warriors got the foundation they need to be a dominant team. And you bet your bottom dollar the rest of the NBA is looking at what the Warriors are doing. They saw what they did to the Celtics. oh, they didn't have Jaylen Brown and Kristaps. It was still a very good Celtics team even without those two. And they're seeing what's going on there. And they know Warriors going to be a problem this year. The NBA, the rest of the league, they've known it for the last 16 years, and they're going to know it here in this 17th year, that the Warriors are going to be a team that you need to fear one way or another. Just having Stephen Curry is enough to inspire fear. Having Stephen Curry on a team this deep that's going to keep him this fresh, that's just only going to add to it. I was watching the Warriors postgame the other night, and Festus Ezeli had a great point. Steph, he might see his scoring down a bit this year, but for good reasons, because his scoring's going to be down because other guys on the team are going to be picking up the scoring flack that he didn't really have in years past. He's had, scoring helpers, obviously when Clay and KD were here, but he's not had this much depth behind him in quite a long time. So again, there's lots of reasons to still believe that this Warriors team is very good. I think they're very good. 50 wins, sure. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's kind of hard to, again, we're saying this after they lost by 19 or down by 41 at the half. But 50 wins, yeah, maybe it's in the cards. Just, try to avoid nights like this. Let's take a quick spin around the rest of the association and see what all the other teams are doing in the league right now. Starting with in Charlotte, where the Hornets top the Pacers 103-83. And Pascal Siakam getting 27 points for the Pacers there in the loss. You had Brandon Miller leading Charlotte with 29 points. Detroit edged out Atlanta 122-121 there. Really holding off a furious Hawks charge in that fourth quarter. Hawks scored 36 to the Pistons 27 in that final frame, but the Pistons hold on for the win. Cade Cunningham getting a triple-double, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. It's the Orlando Magic hosting the Pelicans. They beat the Pels 115-88. Franz Wagner. I don't know what's the best way to say that. 27 points, 6 assists there. It was the Celtics 108 over the Nets 104. Jason Tatum with 33 points and 9 rebounds to go along with 6 assists. The Milwaukee Bucks continue to look absolutely horrible out the gate, probably because Doc Rivers is their head coach. They fell to the Knicks at the Garden 116-94, despite getting 24 and 12 from Giannis, who, again, with every single loss, those trade talks are just going to get louder and louder. Karl Anthony Towns goes for 32 points and 11 rebounds for the Knickerbockers. The Suns were in Dallas, and they won that game 114-113 to improve to 8-1. I mean, we're talking about teams off to a hot start. Obviously, we're all focusing on OKC. We're all focusing on the Celtics and Cavs. The Warriors have gotten their love too. But the Suns, 8-1, getting 26 from Kevin Durant tonight. Got another 15 from Nurkic. Bradley Beal chipped in 15. Devin Booker, 13 points. Great win there for the Suns. Again, 8-1, sitting atop the Western Conference. The Grizzlies were hosting Jordan Poole and the Wizards. They got the 128-104 win. Jaren Jackson Jr. with 39 points for the Grizz. It was the Thunder, who the Warriors will see on Sunday afternoon, over the Rockets at OKC. The Thunder improved to 8-1. They are 4-0 at home. They win 126-107. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dropping 29 points in the win there at home over the Rockets. The Timberwolves topping the Blazers 127-102. Anthony Edwards dropping a cool 37 there over the Blazers, who, trying to play hard for Chauncey. Did not work tonight. The Denver Nuggets were able to hold off the Miami Heat 135-122. Jokic, another triple-double for him, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 14 assists. Tyler Hero, 24 points and 11 assists in the loss. There are two games currently going on right now. The Clippers and the Kings are doing battle over in the state capital. Sabonis has 10 points. Norm Powell pacing the Clippers with 18. Clippers are up 51-45 at the start of the third quarter. And in LA, the Lakers are hosting the Sixers. The Lakers are up 68-60. The big question, will JJ Redick stay for the entire press conference, or will he bolt out of it early? You know who's not bolting out of here early is me, because we are up against it at 8:30, and we are going to wrap up Warriors Wrap Up there. Want to give a shout out to my guy Cam Williams on the board, pressing all the buttons. Chris O'Connell, he was cutting all the highlights that you heard tonight, such as this Andrew Wiggins 3 to stop a big Cavs run.
Ball goes to Jackson Davis with 3, with 2. Wiggins drops the ball, picks it up, steps out, deep 3 on the way. Good for Wiggins. And that silences an 18-0 run for the Cavaliers. Wiggins didn't have time to think about that, just shoot it.
I love Tim Roy tripping over the words 18-0 run because of just how ridiculous it is. So thank you, Chris, for cutting that. Thank you to Bonte Hill for jumping on the show and chatting with me for a little bit. We had a very good conversation for the 15 minutes that we had you on the River Islands guest line. And for all of Dub Nation, thank you for tuning in. Warriors will be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder on Sunday. You can hear that right here on 95.7 The Game. Coverage starts at 3 o'clock. Tip-off will be at 4. And, hey, I guess we'll just see you then. Good night, everybody.